Hello and welcome back to the Alliance Goal Digger podcast. On today's episode, Walking in Our Shoes, Finding the Right Treatment and Team, we share real stories from mom, Kelli Kilpatrick. Kelli is mom to Charlotte, better known as Charlee. Kelli is so gracious to sit down with us and share her story as well as her beautiful daughter's story of healing and thriving with the help of an orthotic care team. I'm so honored to introduce you to someone who is not just a guest, but a mom, an advocate, and an inspiration to many. Thank you, Kelli, for joining us. Well, Kelli, thanks so much for joining us. Without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us about your beautiful family. Don't leave out any of the boring details. We want them all.
So my name is Kelli Kilpatrick. My daughter, Charlotte, or as we call her, Charlee, is 2 years old. She is a patient here at Alliance and has been a patient since she was about 15 months old. I have a husband. We've been married, Josh is his name. We've been married 6 years. Let me count. Yep, 6 years. We have a 5-year-old son, Porter, who just started kindergarten. And then, like I said, we have our daughter, Charlee.
That's awesome. So kind of tell us when you knew you needed orthotics for Charlee, or what brought you to Alliance?
So the first thing that brought us to Alliance was actually a helmet. We have been in PT, and her therapist at the time pointed out that she was in need of a helmet for the back of her head. And you'll have to help me. What's it called when it's on the back of your head?
I can verify insurance. I can't actually tell you what you're pointing to.
So they recommended that we be seen to get her a helmet to curve out the flat spot on her head. We did not know where to go. We had been given a recommendation. We visited one other place first that was a helmet specialist only. Found out that that was not for us. I had a friend whose daughter had a helmet, and we asked her where she took her daughter, and she recommended you guys and had several other friends that had used you as well. So that's actually how we found Alliance.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. So what's interesting is because when Jason and I started this clinic, I knew every patient because he was the only practitioner. Now we have multiple practitioners, and I don't think you've ever seen Jason, or Jason's ever seen Charlee.
I don't think he has either. We started with Victoria.
Okay.
And then as the new office was under construction and patients were starting to be seen while at Tots, Beth was there on the days that Charlee had therapy. So we have worked with Victoria, we have worked with Beth, and even Sadie has sat in on several of Charlee's visits with you guys.
That's awesome. So I got to meet you because our entire staff loves you and your family, and you guys are such a joy. Why don't you tell us about Charlee's diagnosis, kind of how you found out, what the doctors had told you, and some choices you've made as a mother to advocate for your daughter?
So we found Charlee's diagnosis by chance. We had noticed at about 3 or 4 months old that she was a little behind in developing, and we could see that her eyes looked to be crossed. We figured that a lot of that had to do with visual immaturity. I have glasses as a mom. I've had glasses since I was a year old. We looked at that at possibly being hereditary, not being able to do tummy time and hold her head up correctly. We addressed the concerns with our pediatrician, who was very sweet and understanding, and she wrote us a referral to start some PT to get her muscles moving, help assist her with tummy time. She could also see the crossing in her eyes, or where I believe it's the tendons of the ligaments were not in place properly. Referred us to an eye doctor to be seen because I have a history as well as my mom did. And then she said, also, just out of precaution, we're going to go ahead and visit neurology. At the time, she did not think that we would need neurology. Little did we know at the time, her instinct was very correct. We visited the eye doctor, and he examined Charlee, saw what we were concerned with, agreed that it would be a fix that would be needed by surgery. He actually sent us off for a non-emergent MRI to clear her for surgery. Things that he couldn't see on the outside but needed to see on the inside. He received the MRI back from CHOA, called us and said, all right, here is her report, read it off to me. I love her eye doctor. I'll say this. He definitely didn't read it before he read the report to us because he said the findings are consistent with Lissencephaly. And he read the report and he said, you guys have got to see neurology. So at that point, I was at work. I Googled what this was. I'd never heard of it.
Of course.
And needless to say, that day our world was turned upside down.
Yeah.
When I tell any parent who a doctor's given you a diagnosis, don't ever Google it because it'll be the scariest thing you'll ever see in your life. And Charlie's diagnosis was probably one of the scariest things I'd ever read in my entire life. And when I tell you they said it'll be anything from epileptic to tube-fed, wheelchair-bound, very low quality of life, it's terrifying as a parent to read that about your child, especially when it was just thrown at you out of nowhere. So my husband and I took this diagnosis. I called him immediately, left work, as any parent would do, just absolutely in tears, devastated, crying, called my mom, called Josh, called my best friend. I mean, just, something was wrong with our daughter. But as time went on, we realized that Charlee did not match her diagnosis. The more that we researched into everything, she was not epileptic. At that time, she was eating baby food. The risk of aspiration is supposed to be extremely high. She's never aspirated a day in her life. To this day, thanks be to God, she is not epileptic. She's never had a seizure a day in her life. She's 2.5. 90 to 95% of kids with Lissencephaly are supposed to be epileptic. Am I saying that right?
You are.
Epileptic.
And don't worry, there's no fact checkers here.
Thank goodness.
You're just telling your story.
So we immediately, I think my husband and I had our grieving period. Our family stood behind us and rallied around us because, like I said, our world was just turned upside down. But then we were able to look at her and go, she's not her diagnosis. She is her own person. And for those of you who have met Charlee, she is just this huge amount of joy in one tiny human being. You cannot look at that child and not smile. So we started gathering. We reached out to our pediatrician who had received the results, and we started asking them questions. What do we do? Where do we go from here? And she kind of gave us the next steps. And then we just kind of went from there.
What I wanted to circle back to from what you're talking is you decided she's not her diagnosis. Where does that come from? How did you all make that decision that we are going to pursue more than what the paper says?
I think looking at it, we didn't want Charlee to fit into a category. I didn't want her to be something that she's not. And I don't want that to sound terrible, the way to say it, but watching her, knowing that she has this diagnosis, has this disability, knowing that she has the strength to do everything, and watching her in PT, even through all that time, we were determined to do everything that we could to keep her strength up, to work with her, to help her. The power of prayer is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And we have just watched that surround our lives in the past 2.5 years more than we've ever seen. I think she has, brought us closer to the Lord than I think we've ever been in our entire life, and our family too. I want her to be Charlee. I don't want her to be known Charlee has Lissencephaly. I want her to be, look at her. She is a tiny little warrior. She can do anything that she puts her mind to. And she can do that with the help of prayer and great doctors and therapists and family and friends.
That's so beautiful. I think every parent, whether you have a child with disabilities or not, which you have both, you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing both, and I'd love for you to touch on it, on what it's like to have a typical kid and an atypical diagnosis and how you manage that. But before that, how do you manage the community? Because I know you got to educate people, because a lot of times they don't know. They don't know how to interact with families that have kids with disabilities. What have you done?
I encourage a lot of question asking.
Mm.
I love parents that'll, or teachers at the daycare will be like, what is this? What, you know, I love when people ask, will she walk? Will she, crawl? Will she talk?
Mm.
Well, why wouldn't she? We've never been given a reason to think that she won't. She's already defied all the odds. I am so happy to educate people the best that I know how to advocate for her, because
Mm.
I feel like if you're not your child's advocate, then who's going to be?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's for all children.
Right.
So now will you touch on what it's like to have two very different child rearing experiences in your home and how you manage it?
It's fun. Porter is 5. He just started kindergarten and he is all boy, and I love it. He is everything I wanted in a little boy. He's so active. He wears me out. He wears both of us out.
Yeah.
But he's so fun. He's so helpful. He loves Charlee and has that big brother protector like you wouldn't believe. I mean, Porter knows that she is different. He knows the best way that we explain it to him is that she's just slow at learning things. She has to go to therapy to help to learn how to eat or to learn how to walk. And he is so helpful at home and being interactive with her. And he loves to play with her. He loves to help feed her now. If I'm in the kitchen and she needs a snack, he loves to help with that. And I know sometimes I feel a little bit of mom guilt that I'm not the best at doing this, but Josh is. That Porter gets plenty of time for him. We have, I say we, it's actually a lot of Josh. He signed him up for Cub Scouts. He's going to Cub Scouts every week. Josh is helping be a leader in that. He goes to Awana's on Wednesday night with his little best friend. Anytime Josh is out of the house on the weekends, he makes sure that he goes with him. So I feel like with him, we have just really tried to be intentional about making sure that he still feels, that there's enough quality time for him, because all of Charlie's quality time with mom is doctor's appointments, is therapy, is going to work with me. Because when I go to the daycare, she goes to the daycare. He goes to kindergarten now. We just have to be really, really intentional about making sure that they are both given equal amounts of time. Are we perfect at it? No. Do I think that we do a good job? Yes. Because last night, it was so funny. He was sitting on the couch. Dad was working late, was sitting there eating, and he came and snuggled up with me, and he said, "This is the best day ever." And he said, "Because I just get to snuggle on the couch with you and eat some French fries." I was like, oh, and it's just little things like that. When he says things like that, it really makes me feel like, okay, we're doing good. We're good. He's happy. I'm happy.
You're a team.
We are a team. And he may not know it, but he is a part of our team, and he was chosen to be her big brother for a reason, just like we were chosen to be her parents.
Yep. I totally agree with that. And I love how you are exemplifying what it looks like to be a good teammate. I think our world needs more kids and families that look at what they do have and try to build and add value wherever they're placed. And so I applaud you. I think this is a great thing. I got to switch to talk more about our industry, because that's why we have a podcast.
Yes.
So I want to hear about all the orthotics your cute little Charlee has been wearing. I know we started with helmets, but where are we now? What is she doing? Give us the whole intel.
So we went from helmet. I don't remember when we exactly started with the SMOs and AFOs. It's been well over a year for sure. We jumped into the SMO AFO combo as she began to be a little bit more weight bearing on her legs at therapy. And this was to, from sitting to standing, even with just rocking back and forth on her hands and knees, something as simple as to make sure that she had that support. The way that they have built up her low muscle tone, they have basically worked top to bottom. Mm-hmm. So we go from upper body support to lower body support. Now we are just in AFOs. We just recently upgraded those. I think it's probably been 2 months now. So we're on, this actually should be her 3rd set. I feel like that feels right because we had 2 sets of the SMO AFO combos, and now we're just on the AFOs because kids grow quick and they outgrow devices. Yep. So I feel like it's been about an every 6-month transition to the new hardware that we get.
No. So, what's worked? What hasn't worked? What things would you recommend for a parent who's not quite sure if orthotics is the right move?
They've worked for us. Of course.
Thank you.
I say that because we have to have them, but they've worked for us because we've seen her, even though she can't communicate with us, just wearing them and being in therapy and moving, just her amount of confidence in the way that she's so much happier and, being upright and mobile. If you're not sure, ask. I think that's one thing I've learned is don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor. If your child is in therapy and you're not sure, ask. I'm no expert. I wouldn't know, but I know that I want to do everything to, help your child do anything that they need, walk, talk, all of those things. Ask. Don't be afraid.
I love this because you're already transitioning to my next topic, because my team has told me kind of some of the personal sacrifices you have made to be point person. I'd love for you to talk to your experience, the decisions you've made to be Charlee's top advocate, and why you made those choices.
Because she needs me more than anybody needs me. I love my job. I do. But there comes a point in time where, she trumps all. And nobody else can do that for her but Josh and I. And it is our duty as parents to take care of her. And we have to do everything that's best for her. And if that means we have to make certain sacrifices, we pray about it, we talk about it, and then we make the decision. There's never been a time that we haven't told people, hey, we're thinking about making this transition in our life. Can you please pray for us? Charlee will actually be going into preschool in January. And there's been a lot of talk about transitioning to be a stay-at-home mom, just because her hours in school are going to be so different. It's just a simple answer of it's what's best for her. And I want to do everything. My husband and I keep saying but my husband and I want to do everything that we can that is going to benefit her in the long run. And if that means, if there comes a day where I cannot work and cannot be with my awesome kids at the daycare to take care of my daughter, then I know that the sacrifice that I make to stay at home with her, 1, will be a great decision, but 2, be understood by my boss and the whole team there because they love her and they adore her. And to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of things that I couldn't have done without our daycare's help, Yep. And that even came down to days where Porter had to stay late, or there were times we had to switch shifts and, I had to come pick up Charlee and drop Porter off, or vice versa. But making sure that she has everything that she needs is priority number 1. I enjoy what I do, but I love my daughter more.
I think every mother can agree that that is how we want to order our days, to really actualize into that value, because I have 4 kids and I would agree with you. I order my days here at Alliance to match that as well.
And I think that's as she gets older, knowing that school days are going to be built into it, and we're going to be working around, a kindergarten schedule and then a special needs classroom schedule, that'll take up a good bit of the day. We are preparing for a transition meeting out of Babies Can't Wait here soon. So we expect, a lot of screening coming up in the next couple of months, a lot of meetings about what she will and will not qualify for, what school that she will go to. There's a huge possibility that she may not go to the same elementary school that Porter's in because they don't have the proper equipment or the staffing to meet her needs. So we go where they send us. Yeah. Which is a scary thought, to not know where she may or may not go to school, but we trust that, they will put her in the best place possible.
That's awesome. It sounds like you've done your legwork to find the right advocates and team members to help you achieve this goal. Why don't you talk about how you screen people? How do you know they're going to be the right fit for your team?
So I'll give an example. We actually ran into this with our first visit with neurology. We had her appointment scheduled. At that time, we already knew the diagnosis. We had read the MRI report. We knew that the part of her brain that has the Lissencephaly in it was the frontal lobe. My best friend is a nurse practitioner. She read over it with me. We kind of discussed some things. We knew that was the last part of her brain to develop. So even, through, if we had done more ultrasounds or more testing, there would have been no way of knowing until we found out. We found out about her diagnosis in June of she was born in 2023. We had a neurology appointment in July, the following month. We had an appointment with this doctor, nervous, scared of what they were going to tell us. And I'll just put it this way. We did not have a good experience. I'm a person who likes bedside manner with the doctor, especially if you're working with children. We felt that it was very much, she just went and read off what felt like a Wikipedia page, and just said, these are the things that you can expect. Be on the lookout for A, B, C, and D. Come back in 6 months. If she has a seizure, call us. It was very cut and dry. And it was very much, your daughter's not going to thrive because she has this diagnosis. She'll never do this. She'll never do that. She'll have low muscle tone. And I remember walking out of the hospital, just basically, I think we both felt defeated, knowing that was not our daughter. We had been with her, like I said, she was eating baby food. She wasn't supposed to be able to swallow well, and I'd been feeding her baby food for a month, and she was doing just fine. We had never seen any signs of infantile spasms, and she never showed any what they call tics with seizures. And I remember walking down the hallway, Charlee had her passy in her mouth, and they said, they would never be able to use their hands properly to, with their fine motor skills. And I remember walking down the hall, and out of nowhere, she just stuck her hand in her mouth and pulled her passy out and stuck it back in. And she had never done that before.
I'll show you, doctor.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I remember getting back in the car, and I think it was that same day, Josh and I both looked at each other, like, we're not coming back here. And we didn't. And we knew, I feel like Charlee taking her passy and doing that with her mouth was her way of saying, or that was God's way of saying, this is not.
They don't match your value.
They don't match. So we did some research. We wanted a second opinion. We had some people, as I said, my best friends in the medical field, my sister-in-law, and some help with some other people helped look up another neurologist. We have found one out in Athens. We've researched him a little bit. If anybody ever needs a great pediatric neurologist, Dr. Morris in Athens is amazing. I'm going to give him our love because he's wonderful. And we've been with him ever since, because the first visit we had with him, he spent 2 hours with us. He asked about Charlee, but not only did he ask about Charlee, he asked about us. What could he do for us? to help us with her? Did we have our referrals in place? Were we in therapy? Had we talked to anybody with Babies Can't Wait? What did we need? What did she need? How could they help? And we never got that with the first neurologist. And every time we go and see him now, he is just amazed at the progress. He had seen her diagnosis 2 other times. He did let us know at the time, he said there are mild cases. And he said those children are the exception. He said, but because there's so little research on the mild cases, we have to let her teach us what she can and can't do. And so far, it's just been, what can she do? Not what can't she do.
It's a beautiful mindset, and so glad to hear that you found the right place. I know trial and error is something that I've personally walked through with my own kids and medical diagnoses, and we try to give everybody at our clinic the opportunity to get a second opinion. We recommend to parents, if you don't click with a practitioner, find a different one inside our clinic first, because we have a handful. And we want to match the energy of the parent and the energy of the child with the right appropriate. I mean, we're all people. So finding the people that you can count on and trust, it takes confidence, though. Where does this confidence as her advocate come from for you?
Her. It's not me. There's a lot of prayer that goes into our family. More than I could ever point out. I don't know why we got so lucky. I used to think it was the worst thing. You know, when you first find out, you think it's the worst thing, but let me tell you, it's not. It's not. The amount of people that have, I could sit here, I don't know how long I could tell you, and just ramble off people who have prayed for our family, prayed for her. And I sit there and just every night, you know, I just, before I lay my head down and just go, thank you, Lord, for your blessings, because without him, I will tell people before, she has brought me so much closer to Jesus than I think I've ever been in my entire life. Both of my kids have, but it's a lot of prayer and a lot of patience that I've never had. I have had to learn to have, and it's not easy. There are days that are hard, and as a mom, I'll admit there are days that I go, why me? Why did I get picked for this? This is so hard. I don't want to do this anymore. But then I realize it's not about me. It's about my family and how I can serve my kids and be better for them. And I can say it over and over again. I don't know how we got so lucky.
Now that will challenge any mother who's listening to rethink how we process the life that God's chosen for us. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, prayer does change everything.
Yes.
I definitely have experienced that. I wondered if you could encourage the mom who's angry at the diagnosis. She's kind of overwhelmed. She's on the other side of this podcast. I know it because one of her friends is going to send it to her. And she's just really struggling. And it might not be the same diagnosis y'all saw, but it's one that you mentioned it. You mourn that there's a piece that you find is missing.
There is definitely a certain amount of grief that goes with the diagnosis as a parent. And I know for certain that Josh and I went through that grief period. It's not the life that you expected for your child. And it's even harder when you don't know what things are going to look like. You know, I would say, it would be so much easier if she, you know, had Down syndrome and there's so much more research and I can kind of have an idea. But I look at her and go, well, she can change the face of this disability. You know, she can show parents that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there is hope. It's hard to grieve a life that you thought that you had for your child, what you thought was going to be there. If you're not a praying person, I would at least encourage you to find somebody who could pray for you.
Yeah.
If you find a tribe, I mean, like I said, there's so many people that will stand up and support you. And when I tell you I couldn't name off everybody, I can't. It starts with our family and works our way down to friends and, therapists and you guys, and find a group of people that will support you, because I promise they're there. Mm-hmm. They are. But just know, I know there's a lot of people that don't like the saying, you were picked for a reason to be this child's parent, but you were. There's no mistakes. You didn't do anything wrong. I think there was so many times I laid in bed and cried and go, what did I do wrong? Mm-hmm. What did I do wrong as a parent? But, we did the genetic testing. We did all of that. Charlee is Charlee. Mm-hmm. That's who she is. That's who she was made to be. It was not me. It was not Dad. It was just her. Mm-hmm. And her tiny little, cute little self, that's who she's supposed to be. Don't ever feel like as a parent you did anything wrong, because there's nothing that you can change at the end of the day, and it's hard and it's difficult. And like we said, no, not every day is going to be easy. It's not. You can ask my husband. I cry all the time. Find a support system. There are plenty of them out there. I have learned that over the time that I spend so much time on Facebook. You can find moms all over, dads all over, who can talk to you, listen to you, understand what you are feeling, because you do have to find other parents who have walked a mile in your shoes to understand what you're going through. And just listen to what they have to say. Take their advice. It's hard, but it is rewarding. Charlee is learning to stand. She's learning to walk with assistance. And I had somebody tell me one time over Facebook, they have a granddaughter who's special needs, and she said, we don't call them milestones in our house. We call them inch stones. And we celebrate every inch stone. That's beautiful. And take it, take every single little celebration, every single little inch stone, because there's going to be more.
Yeah. You're talking about our gold digger process right now, because that's what we try to do. I know Charlee is a gold digger, and yes. I want to make sure our audience know we're saying goal, not gold.
Yes.
But tell us about the process. What goals has she achieved, and how have y'all celebrated? I know you guys are going to get to come to the banquet this time. Last year you didn't get to make it.
all because she turned 2 last year on the same day.
Yep. We rescheduled just for her birthday.
Yes. Party. So this year we have actually just recently accomplished 2, maybe in a couple more weeks it might be 3.
Cannot wait.
We have gone, of course, wearing the AFOs. We've gone from sitting to standing with assistance, being able to hold her own balance for at least, I think, 30 seconds to a minute, which is huge. And that's, steady holding her balance. We have been able to take steps with assistance. And I'm talking like big steps, like if anybody's ever been to the TOTS office in Tequila, they have a very long hallway where all their therapy rooms are, and she will walk that hallway at the end of her therapy session. So those things are huge, and just getting her feet placement right and heel to toe steps. So I'm hoping maybe, in the next couple weeks, next couple of months, we'll have that left foot straightened out and taking heel to toe steps and better balance. And maybe one day we'll be walking with a walker. Maybe by the end of the year, who knows?
Well, we can aim for it. I love that target. You can't hit anything you don't set. So yeah. I love that you're working with TOTS. Talk about the partnership with your therapist. I know those 2 therapists, and they would love to hear some good press. Brag on your people.
I love our therapist. So this has actually been Charlee's longest therapist. Joanna, we have had her since I think Charlee was, I want to say 6 or 7 months old. She has been with her a long time, and she knows that girl inside and out. I've even gone as far as she's changed her hours. I've changed Charlee's therapy schedule because she has changed her days and her hours. And I feel like it's so important when you work with a person for so long. once a week, it's twice a week, that they know you, they know your personality, you know, they know when she gets tired, they know when she needs a break, and they can tell, you know, if she's in a good mood today, if she's in a bad mood, that she may just not want to do a lot of standing today. She may just want to do more sitting and, you know, be on her hands and knees. And then, you know, just having that ability to build that relationship with them, I think also helps her, because she has the confidence to do the exercises every day that they're trying to get her to do. Dave, who we work with on Fridays, has really been pushing her on her feet, and I'm so thankful for that. And now that she's on her feet, Joanna has also been getting her on her feet more, and it just, like I said, it just builds her confidence. Like I have shown the girls in the office the video, like if you could just look at her walking, the smile on her face, she is so proud of herself. She's so happy. And I love seeing that, because I know that they have worked so hard with her to get her to do that, and to know that, you know, teach her even at 2 that she can do it. I know that, you know, her brain tells her this is what you're supposed to do, but we don't know how to do it. I say it's kind of like putting our puzzle pieces together. She knows that there are things that her body, you know, tells her you're supposed to feed yourself, but we can't tell you how to pick up that Cheerio. You know, so with OT and working with them, they have taught her to pick up those Cheerios and put them in your mouth. You know, and I've watched her just in the past few weeks, like confidently grab food and not drop it to try to put it in her mouth to feed herself. Awesome. You know, I mean, now if I just try to feed her an applesauce cup, she gets mad because she can't do it herself, because she can't hold the spoon to do it yet. But she knows, she's like, well, I can feed myself now, so I'm going to do this. Very much of the stubbornness is coming out, and I know exactly where it comes from. It comes from, well, both of us. I would say Dad, but it comes from both of us.
I'm pretty sure you're pretty stubborn too.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. I wanted to see, while you're talking about therapy, and I just had this idea because we had another guest on, and she has a son who has a diagnosis, and she shared some tips and tricks of how to stay married, because you might know marriage is hard whether you have a kid with disabilities or not, but there is an added layer. What are you and Josh doing to protect your marriage?
I think I will say we have learned to try to communicate a lot better. I mean, you know, I am not a communicator. I will say it is a fault of my own. But I think, you know, one thing that we made sure that we did this year is that we went somewhere for our anniversary. You know, life becomes very redundant, and you get wrapped up in work and, you know, therapies and doctors, that sometimes you just feel like you can just kind of become 2 ships passing, you know, in the harbor and whatever. And that's hard. But I have found, even like I said, just a couple of weeks ago, just saying like, this is how I feel right now. I know it's a lot, but just is how I feel. And for him to tell me, you know, you're doing a great job. She has the best mom. You know, he's like, there's no way I could do what you do every day. I think it's still a learning curve, if I'm being honest. You know, we still have to learn things, because, you know, we do have Porter to take into consideration too. And I feel like I push a lot of Porter responsibility on Josh, but, you know, because they're 2 boys and they like to do the boy things together. But, you know, I have the time that allows me to do the things that I need to do with her. Like we've talked about, Josh is very hardworking and stays very busy with his job. But I'm also so thankful that they allow Josh to come to doctor's appointments and do the things that he needs to do. So I even said the other day, I said, I think it's time that, you know, before the end of the year, that we get a sitter, try to do something for the weekend, you know, in the year on the right foot. And even jokingly said, hey, I think it's time for a date night. Pencil me into your calendar. You know, when do you have availability? When do I have availability? But just, you know, something I'm just been trying is like, just be intentional, try to make time. And it's hard. It's very, very hard, but it's worth it. And we are a team. And, you know, it's like he and I both said, we're in this together. We do this once. We're not doing it again. Yeah. You know, we do this, and try. And I'm like I said, I'm not very good at it, but we just have to try.
I disagree with that. I think the people who are not good at it are the ones who aren't trying.
Yeah.
You know, nobody has to be perfect. Your first pancake is never good. I don't know if you make pancakes in your house, but at my house, the first pancake is always a little wonky. But then you get in a rhythm and you figure out what works. And I think that's what you've put into practice with your family. That's why our staff loves your family, because y'all are go-getters and you don't quit. And that is a gift. I wanted to see, as we're kind of wrapping up our time together, if you have any advice for a mom who's trying to make the decision to do what's best for their kid, but she sees all the things that she has to let go of, and she's a little afraid to do it. What would you recommend?
So we're actually going through that right now.
I thought so. I don't know. I had this inkling. You're going to be the person to answer this question.
We are going through that now. There has been a lot of discussion in our house about taking a step back from things, and when will it be time for me to, per se, hang up my hat and be full-time mom. You know, and it's no secret that that's what's going to have to happen in our house. It's no secret to anybody, with a parent with a special needs child, how parents have a child with disabilities and work full-time, especially as the child gets older and is in school. I'll never understand. Daycare is so easy because I can go in and get her whenever I need to, and we can make our appointments work now. But I'm telling you, I have no idea how we're going to do it when she's in school. So there's just been a lot of back and forth in the house about when would be the right time. What is life going to look like in the future? Had a lot of discussions of where my time would be best served. And I look at it as I'm very scared to have the potential to not be at my job one day. I love the girls that I work with. I love my daycare director. They are amazing. I worry about not having adult interaction every day. That scares me. But I think putting back the fear and looking ahead, it's so funny, at church, we just started the series of Joshua and being strong and courageous and doing those things. And I'm going, okay, I hear you. I know what you're saying. Don't be scared. I've got your back. We can do this. Take that leap of faith and it'll be okay. And so when we're ready to make that decision, I think as time goes on and as Charlie gets older and getting closer to starting school, I think I'll feel a lot better knowing that that's exactly where I need to be. The financials are terrifying.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that terrifies us both, of being without an income and what that would look like. But then we look at it as, well, we wouldn't be spending X amount of dollars in gas. We wouldn't be, spending X amount of dollars on an after school program for Porter because now he could be a car rider. So we just have to look at things like real life examples like that and sit there and say, and these are all things that we've talked about. I'd even told Josh, I said, my grandmother is 86, 87. I said, well, I can go spend some time with her and take Charlie and visit and, have that time with her. She's my last living grandparent. Why not be able to spend days with her and let her spend time rocking Charlie and playing with her, or help her go to the grocery store? And so we've just talked about those things. And I think one thing that we've discussed is that you're always so replaceable in the world. And I've talked about this with other moms who stayed at home. You're always so easily replaceable. You're never replaceable to your child. And as Charlie gets older, I think that's just how we look at it. So knowing that journey is probably coming very soon is scary, but I think we're on the right foot. And it's something I think will be okay. So I can't say don't be afraid because I'm afraid, but do what's best for your child because nobody else can do it for them. Only you and, dads or moms or whoever, nobody else can do them for it but you.
Yeah. I know you don't know this because you don't know him, but my husband probably stole it from somebody else. But Jason says there is no one else to be a husband to Rachel and a father to his 4 sons. And that role cannot be replaced.
Yeah. And I could tell you there was a time when I was working another job that I would be picking both of the kids up at daycare at 6:00. I'd be answering emails at 7:30 at night, putting Charlie to bed, and that's not life. That's not giving them what they need. It stressed me out more than it did anything. So to be there and to be present, I think, as, knowing as my kids are getting older and knowing that those little toddler years are almost over, and now we're getting into the teenage years of the 5-year-old, and the 6
5, yeah,
who knows everything, but it's still so fun. I just being present. I don't want to miss out on anything, and I want to be able to give them everything that they can.
No, that's beautiful. So I'm putting you on the spot now, okay? So I know you've listened to podcasts, so I hope you know that I'm going to ask you to do this. But I believe prayer changes everything. You believe that too.
Yes.
So I don't think there would be a better person than you to pray for yourself and for the mom who is afraid to leave whatever it is that she knows she kind of has to pursue this next. Would you be willing to pray over our moms who are listening, or even our dads, or maybe there's a single who just needs a little bit of encouragement to leave the former and go forward?
Lord, I just want to thank you for this time that I was able to spend with Rachel, Lord, and sharing our story and the testimony, Lord, that our family is, so wonderfully blessed with. And I pray for our daughter and all the things that the abilities that you have given her and blessed our family with, Lord. And I pray for other families who are going through these scary times and these scary moments and are unsure of what to do. Lord, I just ask that they lean on you, give them courage, give them strength, Lord, to be an advocate for their child, Lord, and help them through all of these hard times. Lord, we know that there is a season, Lord, and that you see us through everything. And we just ask that you bless them, Lord, with grace and strength and courage, Lord, and just know that they are not alone. And there's always family and friends, and to find their support system to help this through, because as our family knows, we would not be able to do that without you and our support team, Lord. I just ask all these things in your name and your blessings. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful. Thank you for doing that for us. And those who are listening, if you want to follow or get to know this beautiful family, they have a pretty heavy social media presence. They are awesome at sharing their story boldly and courageously. Their daughter, Charlee, is so cute. You would definitely want to see some of these videos. And of course, you can follow us along at Alliance Gold Digger Podcast, as well as at all of our socials. And you can see her cute face because she's a gold digger too.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kelli, for being here.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Were you inspired or challenged today? If so, connect with us. Follow the links in the description box below. We want to hear from you. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Alliance Gold Digger Podcast.